Satan is doing whatever he can to destroy mankind and to destroy this planet because he knows his time is short. The biggest mistake a believer can do is to think that they still have time. Well, think about it. Yesterday somebody died, today you're alive. You don't know about tomorrow. Maybe God has just allowed you some little time to put things right with him. The devil wants to perish with as many people as possible. But thank Jesus. He came that we might have life and have life more abundantly. He gave his life for us. He died that we might live. By his stripes we were healed. He says, behold, I stand at the door and knock. If you hear my voice and open your heart, I will come in. Can you imagine how beautiful Jesus is?
Dear friends, the following is an abridged and revised version of Erica's book entitled Death, Hell, and Heaven. For those who want to purchase her book, I left you the link in the description box of this video. Thank you. Chapter 3. My First Death. At 16, I had my first experience with death by actually dying. It happened after I failed a mission against a witch doctor named Mukisa, who had accepted Jesus Christ. This was the same Mukisa I wrote about in Erica Part 3, Witchcraft and Spiritual Warfare. After my failed attempt to kill him for converting to Christianity, I endured intense torture. The pain mirrored in my physical body and I passed out, leading to my rushed admission to the hospital. Once there, I felt unbearable pain, especially in my head, where Satan repeatedly bashed it against the wall. The doctors ran several tests, but everything came back negative, so they began treating me based on guesswork. They prescribed powerful painkillers, but nothing worked. The pain only worsened. The more I took, the worse it got, and I screamed so loud that everyone on the floor could hear me. Doctors tried sedating me with injections, but I would momentarily fall weak, only to start screaming again. Soon, all the doctors became involved in my case, surrounding me and discussing what could be done. One doctor pulled my mother aside and said, "Her case is spiritual. You need to go to a powerful church or shrine for prayers or remedies." The doctors eventually told my mother that there was nothing more they could do. One doctor measured my temperature. My body was hot, but my feet were freezing. He asked my mother if I had eaten, and she told him I only ate eggs. This was because of the snake system I was bound to, as I explained in Erica Part 1, 7 years in hell. The doctor grew concerned and suggested pouring cold water on my head. My mother held me up while my brother poured the water. To everyone's shock, steam rose from my head. They recommended transferring me to a bigger hospital the next day. That night, I felt as if parts of me were shutting down. I became terrified, but my younger brother Evans prayed for me, and I made it through the night. The next day, my mother received a referral letter, and I was discharged from Jinja Hospital to be transferred to Mulago, a larger government hospital. She needed to raise some money for my admission, so we returned home first. The Disconnection. As we reached the gate of our home, I felt a strange power disconnect me from my body. I saw myself floating above my own form, glowing as a light. When my mother realized I could not move, she called the neighbors to help carry me into the house. While she took a shower, they laid me on the couch. An old woman recognized that I was dead and called for my mother, who rushed out of the bathroom, still wrapped in a towel. She began praying and crying out to God for my life. When someone dies, their spirit lingers around the body for about an hour. During that time, it is possible for someone to pray for revival or for doctors to attempt resuscitation. As my mother prayed, I saw my spirit, shaped like a glowing human heart, re-enter my body. Gradually, warmth returned. My systems began functioning again, and I opened my eyes. A desperate journey. My mother could not wait for a private vehicle, so we boarded a public bus, where she paid for an entire row of seats. During the ride, I vomited on her as we traveled from Jinja to Kampala. Upon arriving in the city, we went straight to my aunt's house. She was a doctor and had connections in government hospitals. However, as we reached her doorstep, my mother noticed my body was cold and stiff. People on the bus began expressing their condolences, assuming I had passed away. Some strangers helped carry me into my aunt's compound. While my body lay there, my spirit hovered nearby, and my heart had physically stopped beating. In hell, my soul was still tormented by Satan and his demons. I saw a brilliant light brighter than the sun, calling my name, Erica. This light had a magnetic pull, and had I fully connected with it, I would not have returned. At that moment, my mother laid across my stomach, her navel against mine, and cried out, "God, I cannot bury my daughter. The dead cannot worship you." Suddenly, a warm, heavy wind from the light pushed my spirit back into my body. I started coughing, stunning everyone who had seen me die. My aunt, who had initiated me into the occult, arrived later. Upon seeing me alive, she was displeased. She kept asking my mother, "What did you pray? What did you say?" Surprisingly, at that moment, God healed me completely. I never made it to the hospital. We simply got back on the bus and went home. Had I died in that state, my soul would have remained in hell forever. I thank God for my mother's unwavering prayers. They saved my life. I want to encourage mothers everywhere. Never stop praying for your children, even in the face of death. My mother's faith and persistence brought me back from the brink. Chapter 4. The Silver Cord. Or ever the silver cord be loosed, or the golden bowl be broken, or the pitcher be broken at the fountain, or the wheel broken at the cistern, then shall the dust return to the earth as it was, and the spirit shall return unto God who gave it. Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verses 6-7. When a person dies, the body shuts down in stages. Each body part, cells, nerves, and veins, are interconnected. The physical heart functions like an engine for the body, while the soul remains connected through a silver cord. The spirit, which ties to both the physical and spiritual heart, is connected to God. This spirit interacts with the life force in our belly and the upper part of our head, just above the brain. These areas, the brain, heart, and belly, are intricately connected, and when a person dies, these systems begin to shut down as the spirit, which sustains life, returns to God. Without the spirit, the body starts to decay, as it no longer has the life force that acts as a battery. The brain, heart, and belly are delicate, and any damage to these parts can lead to death. If these areas are neglected in life, the body begins to deteriorate. The heart and life. A person's life is a reflection of their heart's content. If the heart holds evil, it manifests in a life of wickedness. But if Jesus resides in the heart, it produces life, and the heavenly life force flows through it. Over time, the heart reflects what has been spoken into it. The Word of God, like a seed, can be planted in the heart by consistently meditating on it and spending time with it. These seeds grow and bring forth the promises described in Scripture. This allows a person to live from the inside out, rather than being shaped by external circumstances. Jesus instructs us to remain in Him and let His Word dwell within us. The result is the kind of fruit that glorifies God. When we bear good fruit, God prunes us, allowing us to bear even more. Words have the power to bring both good and evil into existence. This is why it is essential to guard the heart from harmful influences. If toxic things enter the heart, they multiply into a lifestyle that negatively affects the world. Jesus uses the parable of the sower to explain how both good and bad seeds grow together until the time of harvest. At that time, the bad seeds are removed, and only good hearts producing eternal life will remain on earth. This is the outcome God desires to see, the earth filled with hearts transformed by His Word. The silver cord. When a person dies, the silver cord connecting their soul to the body breaks. The spirit, which is the life force given by God, returns to Him. The soul, the true essence of a person in spiritual form, goes either to heaven or hell, depending on the person's decision to accept or reject Jesus Christ. The soul's destination is determined by the path chosen in life, much like a road can lead to different places based on the direction taken. Jesus is the way to God, and through Him, souls can be transported to heaven. The name of Jesus serves as a source of safety and strength, providing protection and deliverance for those who seek refuge in Him. It is through His name that believers are saved, and every soul ultimately acknowledges His lordship. Chapter 5. How I Died. In the early stages of my salvation, the transition from the kingdom of darkness to the kingdom of light was difficult. I had to confront many habits and character traits that were not in line with God's ways. I also had to learn to trust God for everything in my life. I faced many enemies, and some people even wanted to kill me. As a result, I moved from one home to another frequently. I expected Christians to behave differently from people in the world, but that was not always the case. I was often mistreated and falsely accused of things I did not do. Many times I was denied basic necessities like food, clothes, and even sanitary products for my monthly cycle. The first book I wrote, which contained my testimony, was taken by a pastor who claimed authorship. I lost all rights to the publication. Conferences were held where I was the main speaker, and people were charged to attend, but I received no payment from the proceeds. I remained in poverty while others profited from my story. Despite all this, I continued serving God. A ministry trip gone wrong. During my second year at Kampala University, I was invited to minister in a village in Mityana district, Uganda. The mission was supposed to last a week. For the first time, I did not feel excited about ministry. Normally, I would be thrilled to serve, but this time, something felt off. I decided to pray about it. While praying, I heard a voice telling me not to go, warning that I would be involved in an accident and that the area we were heading to was surrounded by death. The village was called Walumbe Tanda, which means Tomb of Death. I started praying 4 days before the trip, and the pastor informed me that the host pastor had just lost his son. The boy had fallen from a tree while trying to get fruit and died. I told the pastor that I did not want to go, but he insisted, saying the village pastor needed us. 2 days before the conference, another elder lost his son. Still, the pastor urged us to go. We set off, and I prayed continuously for our safe arrival. By God's grace, we made it there safely. I ministered, sharing gospel songs and giving my testimony at the conference and the open-air crusade. Another speaker, a former witch doctor who had converted to Christ, also shared his story. The ministry was powerful, and many people gave their lives to Christ. On the last day, the pastor who brought me received a phone call that his wife had miscarried. He was too distraught to minister, so he asked me to take his place. After ministering, I packed my things, as there was only one motorbike available to take us to the nearest bus stop. It was getting late, around 7:00 p.m., and darkness had fallen. There were 3 of us on the motorbike, the driver, the pastor, and me. The bike was overloaded with our luggage, and one of the suitcases was balanced on the handlebars. The roads in the village were rough, with steep hills. The driver sped up to around 80 kilometers per hour as we went downhill, trying to make up time. He lost control, hit a rock, and the motorbike overturned. The driver hit his head on a rock and died instantly. I, seated in the middle, fell on my knees and slid down the jagged road. Blood gushed from my knees. The pastor, seated behind me, fell on his hands. We lay there, bleeding and helpless in the darkness, for at least an hour before another motorbike driver found us. He recognized us as the people who had ministered at the conference. As they tried to rescue us, I felt myself slipping out of my body. The intense pain, combined with fear, caused me to feel like I was 2 people in one. I began to separate from my physical body as if it were a garment I was shedding. I left my body through my head. When the rescuers arrived, they saw the driver was dead, but the pastor and I were still alive. They placed us on bikes and rushed us to the hospital. On the way, the pastor held me with his injured hands, while I, out of my body, ran ahead of them, urging them to go faster. I did not want to die. At the hospital, they started treating our wounds. Even though I was outside my body, I could still feel the pain. As they worked on us, I overheard the doctor tell the nurse that I would not make it. I screamed in fear because I saw 2 strong hands shaped like a whirlwind coming to grab me. The pastor screamed, "Erica, do not go!" while I screamed in shock and fear. I entered a dark tunnel, darker than anything I had ever experienced in this world. The spiritual realm's darkness is much deeper than the physical world's. That was the last time I saw anything in this dimension. A cold, dark tunnel. The tunnel was cold, like a meat freezer. I could see a dim light ahead and landed on the ground inside the tunnel. The force pulling me down slowed, and I saw 2 gates ahead, one on the right and one on the left. I approached the right-hand gate and was horrified. I saw demons unlike any I had encountered in my years serving Satan. These creatures were grotesque, deformed, and terrifying. They growled, thinking I would fall into their midst. But I did not. I quickly shut the gate and ran to the one on the left. The left-hand gate was open, but as I tried to approach, it shrank. No matter how hard I tried, I could not fit through it. I heard a voice say, "Those who call upon the name of the Lord shall be saved." I began to scream, "Jesus!" In that place, people call out the name of their gods, and whatever name you call determines your destination. That is why idolatry is so dangerous. As I called on Jesus, a bright light struck me, and I found myself in a beautiful, bright place full of life. Jesus' name had saved me and transported me out of that dark place into this wonderful realm. I stood on soil that did not make me dirty. I scooped up handfuls and poured it over myself, but it left no stain. In the soil, I saw gold and minerals, plenty of them, lying on the surface. I did not have to dig. They were right there. I rolled on the ground back and forth, yet I did not get bruised or scratched. I even jumped and threw myself down, but I felt no pain. I noticed areas with neatly gathered stones and other spots with rich soil, everything arranged so beautifully that words could not fully describe it. I saw gardens filled with every type of fruit, and nothing in them showed signs of decay. Some of the fruits seemed to have been there for a long time, yet they remained fresh and tasted perfect. There was no corruption, no decay, nothing that deteriorated in this place. The air I breathed was purer and sweeter than any oxygen I had ever experienced. It was far beyond anything we have on earth. Heaven's air felt alive, untouched by any form of corruption. Once you breathe it, you realize you could never die. I was breathing in and exhaling God Himself. I noticed 4 rivers flowing in different directions. They all came from one source, a spring that fed them as they parted and spread across the land. This was the river of life. It reminded me of the passage in Genesis. "And a river went out of Eden to water the garden, and from thence it was parted, and became into 4 heads. The name of the first is Pison. That is it which compasseth the whole land of Havilah, where there is gold. And the gold of that land is good. There is bdellium and the onyx stone. And the name of the second river is Gihon. The same is it that compasseth the whole land of Ethiopia. And the name of the third river is Hiddekel. That is it which goeth toward the east of Assyria. And the fourth river is Euphrates." Genesis chapter 2, verses 10 to 14. I reached one of the rivers. The water was purer than anything I had ever seen. I could see my reflection in it more clearly than in any mirror. As I looked at my reflection, I felt an urge to drink the water, but before I could, an angel spoke to me, saying, "No, you cannot drink from this water yet. According to the world, you have died, but according to heaven, it is not your time." I turned to see who had spoken, but the angel stood far away, though I could hear him as clearly as if he were beside me. It was as though I was hearing his thoughts. He smiled at me, and in the blink of an eye, he was standing right in front of me. He wore a white robe with a silver belt and golden shoes, both made of real silver and gold. Behind him in the distance, I saw cherubim dressed in fine purple robes, with silver belts and sandals made of pure silver. These were servants in heaven, but they were clothed in wealth. The fine purple fabric was truly magnificent, like nothing on earth. Everything I saw in heaven made the things of this world seem like garbage in comparison. Chapter 6. My first trip to heaven. At 18, God delivered me from the powers of darkness, as I shared in Erica, Part 1, 7 years in hell. I was saved on a Saturday, and by Sunday I began to testify. Over 13 years have passed since that day. From the moment of my deliverance, God used me to fight against the angel of death. I often found myself in places where accidents were about to happen. My spirit would immediately recognize that a tragedy was imminent, and I would start praying. On several occasions, I confronted the angel of death directly during these rescue missions. Although property was sometimes destroyed, no one ever lost their life. I described one of these incidents in Erica Part 1 and Erica Part 2, 18 years with Lucifer. Meeting Jesus. In the early days of my ministry, I faced intense attacks from the devil. It was during these attacks that God began revealing himself to me. My full deliverance took 3 years. One day, as I was under severe spiritual attack, pastors prayed for me. In my possessed state, I would physically overpower everyone in the room, forcing them to tie me up with ropes, which I would break with ease. One night, while this was happening, Jesus entered the room. As soon as he appeared, I began to worship him. He did not need to introduce himself. I knew instantly that this was Jesus. For so long, demons and spirits, sometimes even those of dead secular artists, had tormented me, making me dance and sing like them. But when Jesus appeared, all of these demons fled. I bowed down and worshipped him with all my strength. The pastors, amazed at the sight, watched as I went from being possessed to worshiping the Lord in an instant. Then I entered a trance and was taken to heaven with him. On our journey to heaven, we arrived at a river that we needed to cross to enter a place that looked like paradise. Jesus wanted to empower me over the marine kingdom, which had held me captive for 18 years. But as I tried to cross the bridge, I felt like I was sinking into the water below. I immediately began confessing my sins, and I started vomiting filth out of my mouth. Once I had expelled everything, I was able to cross the bridge. As I crossed, I heard demons screaming, "Erica, have mercy on us. Do not destroy us." Jesus then told me to look into the water. I saw Satan there, in the form of a beast with 7 heads and 10 horns, covered in leopard-like skin. His neck was as long as a giraffe's, and his feet resembled a bear's. Each head had 2 sunken eyes, and their color was like that of a gecko. Satan was speaking with strange beings, including a red serpent with 12 heads, each wearing a golden crown. He instructed them to destroy me, declaring that I had become his enemy. Jesus handed me a key and said, "I give you power over all the demons and devils that tormented you. I will use you to bring souls from the kingdom of darkness into my kingdom." Jesus then led me to a place where I saw the seraphim. One seraphim resembled a penguin, covered in eyes, worshiping Jesus and repeating, "Holy, holy, holy." This seraphim began to quote Psalm chapter 2. "Why do the heathen rage and the people imagine a vain thing? The kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together against the Lord and against his anointed, saying, Let us break their bands asunder and cast away their cords from us. He that sitteth in the heavens shall laugh. The Lord shall have them in derision. Then shall he speak unto them in his wrath, and vex them in his sore displeasure. Yet have I set my king upon my holy hill of Zion. I will declare the decree. The Lord hath said unto me, Thou art my son. This day have I begotten thee. Ask of me, and I shall give thee the heathen for thine inheritance, and the uttermost parts of the earth for thy possession. Thou shalt break them with a rod of iron. Thou shalt dash them in pieces like a potter's vessel. Be wise now, therefore, O ye kings. Be instructed, ye judges of the earth. Serve the Lord with fear, and rejoice with trembling. Kiss the Son, lest he be angry, and ye perish from the way, when his wrath is kindled but a little. Blessed are all they that put their trust in him." As the seraphim spoke, Jesus' face became brighter and more glorious. My body, alongside the seraphim, began quoting the entire psalm, even though I had never read it before. The pastors were astonished as I went from being possessed to worshiping and reciting scripture. In the midst of this, I heard Satan scream, "Erica, I beg you, do not destroy my kingdom." I felt overwhelming joy, knowing that the devil who once tormented me was now pleading for mercy. Jesus then told me, "If you abide in me, and my words abide in you, this devil will be nothing before you. Abide in me, and I in you. As the branch cannot bear fruit of itself, except it abide in the vine, no more can ye, except ye abide in me. I am the vine, ye are the branches. He that abideth in me, and I in him, the same bringeth forth much fruit, for without me ye can do nothing. If a man abide not in me, he is cast forth as a branch, and is withered, and men gather them, and cast them into the fire, and they are burned. If ye abide in me, and my words abide in you, ye shall ask what ye will, and it shall be done unto you." John chapter 15, verses 4-7. I saw many other seraphim, each with unique features. Some had eyes all over, others had ears, hands, or tongues. They excel in strength, fulfilling God's will. Some are in heaven's catering department, tasting food and perfecting its excellence. I saw seraphim with feathers like blankets, offering comfort, and others with eyes so sharp they could count every hair on a person's head. There were seraphim, with many lips, whose role is to minister and comfort God's children. Others had shields, protecting humanity from the enemy's attacks. The love of God for humanity was evident in the attention to detail for our preservation, sustenance, and salvation. For he shall give his angels charge over thee, to keep thee in all thy ways. Psalms chapter 91, verse 11. In heaven, I witnessed the hierarchy of angels. The seraphim minister to the cherubim, who then minister to God directly. All the angelic hosts serve God by also serving his children. When I saw these things, I was left speechless. Jesus warned me not to share this knowledge with the pastors I lived with. He explained that many of them could not be trusted. Their interests were not in building God's kingdom, but in constructing their own empires under the guise of serving him. They would have taken what I saw, written books about it, and claimed it as their own, corrupting something sacred and pure. After Jesus showed me these revelations, I returned to my body, anointed. Everyone surrounding me, some possessed, was delivered instantly. Even those I touched fell, including pastors and deacons. From that day forward, I began casting out devils. My life changed completely. I went from fearing the devil to being feared by him. God has used me to deliver thousands of souls since then. The battles have been intense, but by God's grace we have always been victorious. Glory to the name of Jesus. As Luke chapter 10 verse 19 says, "Behold, I give unto you power to tread on serpents and scorpions, and over all the power of the enemy, and nothing shall by any means hurt you." Meeting Michael, the archangel. I met Michael, the archangel, and he revealed that each time I fought him and his armies, thinking I had won, he had let me win. This was part of God's strategy to make me appear victorious in front of Satan, so Satan would trust me and reveal his secrets. Michael told me that the only reason I survived these battles was because of the covenant my parents made with God. Michael and his angels knew I would eventually serve the Lord, so he commanded them not to harm me. We laughed about it, and I reached out to shake his hand, but my hand passed through his. He explained that this happened because I was not entirely dead on earth. Then, Michael took me on a tour of heaven, where angels were preparing a feast for the bride of Christ. However, they were sad because the people they were preparing for were not ready to meet the groom. The angels expressed disappointment that people on earth do not recognize their roles in spiritual warfare. They miss interacting with mankind and rejoice when even one soul turns to Christ. They encouraged me to keep winning souls for God's kingdom. They also told me that if I continued to defend the vulnerable, help the poor, and walk upright with God, I would build mansions for myself in heaven. When I asked them if I was in heaven, they said I was in a place between heaven and earth. I demanded to see heaven and God before I returned to my body on earth. The angels smiled at my request. Their sincerity was undeniable, and I could feel the absence of any falsehood in their expressions. Michael in particular was kind and genuine, friendly toward God's children but deadly toward the kingdom of darkness. I also encountered Lucifer. His body was transparent, embedded with every kind of precious stone. If he emitted gold, all of heaven would shine gold. When his body illuminated silver, topaz, or carbuncle, those colors would radiate throughout heaven. Thou hast been in Eden, the garden of God. Every precious stone was thy covering, the sardius, topaz, and the diamond, the beryl, the onyx, and the jasper, the sapphire, the emerald, and the carbuncle, and gold. The workmanship of thy tabrets and of thy pipes was prepared in thee in the day that thou wast created. Ezekiel chapter 28, verse 13. In popular culture, such as in Rihanna's song Diamonds, lyrics like "shine bright like a diamond" are not directed to a man, but are part of worshiping Lucifer. In return, Satan offers worldly rewards like wealth, power, and fame. When Lucifer's body illuminated, even his eyes would glow in precious stone colors like gold, silver, and sapphire. His light was brighter than the noon sun. He would walk on the stones of fire, announcing the arrival of El Elyon. Lucifer would usher in the presence of Yahweh as God descended from his throne in the seventh heaven. As the Lord passed, his glory and majesty were so immense that no one could see his face, only his glory and power. Lucifer had unmatched musical ability. He could sing tenor, alto, soprano, and bass simultaneously, without the need for a choir or instruments. On his right hand, he had 6 wings, which produced the sounds of percussions and drums. On his left hand, 3 upper wings produced stringed instruments like harps and guitars, while the lower wings held horned instruments such as trumpets and trombones. He could imitate the sound of any animal, and when he danced, no one could match his skill. Lucifer was flawless in appearance and talent until evil was found in him, leading to his fall. His wings also contained instruments, with percussions and strings on one side and horns on the other. His ability to change into different forms, including the faces of cherubim, gave him an even greater aura of power. Lucifer could also change his appearance based on musical styles. When embodying reggae, he looked like a reggae artist, and when shifting to hip-hop, he dressed like a rapper. God created Lucifer with extraordinary capabilities, but it was pride and evil that led to his downfall. Lucifer typically had black nails, often adding red accents. He could also mimic animal sounds, flawlessly replicating any creature's voice. God endowed Lucifer with the ability to speak, ensuring all creatures could understand him. As a cherub, Lucifer possessed the power to transform into any of the 4 faces of his fellow cherubim. Notably, the image of man was formed from one of God's primary faces, the face of a man. Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, and I'll see you in our next video.